Hello everybody, it's Lucy Wolfe here, sleep consultant and author of the Baby Sleep Solution. I hope that you're really well today. I feel like I haven't done a video in ages. It's just the way things go sometimes. But today I just wanted to do a post on why kids fight sleep, and especially since the time change, lots of children who don't normally fight sleep, their internal body clock is being challenged a little bit, and you may find that you've got a little bit of sleep resistance on your hands, which is temporary and will pass as this week unfolds. But some of you experience sleep resistance on a high level on an ongoing basis, and I just wanted to cover a few things that maybe might help with that dynamic. Typically, children who fight sleep are children who are overtired, and because they are overtired, their body has a chemical reaction and it puts their body for all intents and purposes into fight or flight mode, and it's a basic survival mode really, which then makes their body fight sleep, and it also makes their body stay in a heightened state of arousal, which also can mean that you see more waking in the overnight period as well. So again, the first thing to try and do is get underneath what overtired symptoms might be represented by. And typically I suggest that anything that's obvious is typically overtired. So intense eye rubbing, big tight yawning, any sense of agitation, clenching fists, stretching limbs, arching the back, looking to get up, looking to get back down, not really knowing what they want. Some children will get hyper, some children will get clumsy, some children will get super entertaining. And you don't need to see all of those symptoms, you may only just see one of those symptoms. Or of course you may just see resistance to sleep, because sometimes your children are really good at disguising their sleep cues. And again, what we try and do is try to get to them before the fact. One of the ways we try to do this is, first of all, understanding what getting tired looks like. Getting tired is brief eye rubs, brief yawns, moments of quiet, starting to zone out sometimes. Often children who are older, they look for their associations, so some kids might try and get up on your lap. Some children will try and access your boob, look for the bottle. And again, I often feel that even children who lay down, put their face on the floor, they're often early cues. And of course, sometimes they can be too late. My nap gap dynamic, in conjunction with my magic number line. Again, this is appropriate. We're going to do it from 4 months onwards here. But again, between 4 months and 6 months, you will only use the percentage of wakefulness approach. You won't use the stay and support approach until your child is at least 6 months of age, because it is possible that your baby won't be ready to learn and you're only making it more challenging for yourselves. But there's nothing to stop you in the early few months is getting your flexibility, getting your timings right, because timing, sleep makes a huge difference. So if they're overtired, they're going to resist sleep. If they're sleep ready, and that's what we're looking for, so the early cues, then you have more chance of them going to sleep with greater ease for you. But a lot of children, they're dysregulated, so they're really confused, they're not really good at giving you the body language, and sometimes just hijacking the body clock is the way to do it. So the nap gap dynamic represents the relationship between the end of daytime sleep and being in bed asleep, and I feel this is one of the most important pieces of information that I can give you. So basically between the ages of 4 months and 8 months, we don't really want your baby awake for more than 2 hours between the last nap and bedtime, so that we aim for naps to be finished by 5 in order to be comfortably asleep by 7. And this ties in with the magic number line. Between 8 months and 18 months, the longest period we want your baby to be awake for is between 3.5 to 4 hours. So that means napping close to 3:30 in order to be comfortably asleep around 7:30. And again, I always go on the minimum, not the maximum, because when you're dealing with an overtired child, they can't tolerate the minimum. The maximum rather. And again, this is what then sometimes causes things to not go your way. So always go short before we go long. From 18 months to 3 years of age, when your baby is still napping, the longest wake period is between 4 to 5 hours. And again, I would go more on 4 until your child is sleeping better. But this means that maybe your nap is finishing around 2:30 or 3 to still be aiming to be asleep sometime between 7 and 8. And again, we'll tie that in with the magic number line. Now again, the magic number line helps you to establish what I call a fight-free bedtime, which might then mean that you aim for dinner around 5:30. With children over the age of 6 months, we look for final drinks to be finished by 6:15. We look for your bedtime routine to start at 6:30, and we aim for them to be in their cot or their bed by 6:50 to get you started. Again, as time evolves, you'll establish your child's natural bedtime. Again, what you're trying to do is trying to take the fight out of bedtime by hijacking the body clock, like I say. And again, then you underpin this with the stay and support approach. If you're transitioning from anything that you're doing to help your baby go to sleep that you feel is maybe creating a vulnerability where your nighttime sleep is concerned. And then of course, if you don't stay with your child or you're not making any big changes, then you proceed with your bedtime as normal, but you're adjusting the timing. And very often families can just operate this timing structure, keep feeding to sleep, keep rocking to sleep, keep rolling to sleep, and sleep still improves because the timing tends to be the more important element of the sleep issues that many of you experience. And so if we work on that basis, some of you will try to follow that nap gap dynamic but create your own bedtime. So maybe you try to have a later bedtime by doing a 5 p.m. nap and maybe an 8 or 4:30 end of the daytime sleep, and 8:30 bedtime. It may or may not work because ultimately the timings are specific to the hormonal balance. They're not just plucked out of the sky, they're actually based on the science of sleep. And while some of you will ask me, can I have a later bedtime? I don't have the answer to that question because some children will go with that and some children will continue to fight sleep because it's out of sync with the natural body clock. Even with perfect timing, if you're not having a constructive bedtime routine, then also the preparation will cause a resistance to sleep. So everything needs to be underpinned with your bedtime routine. In the bedroom that your child is going to sleep in, you want to allocate at least 20 minutes to this exercise. Dim the lights, close the curtains, nappy change, pajamas, sleeping bag them if they're wearing one. Song time, story time, loads of physical contact, loads of eye contact, and then you put them into their bed or their cot. But you want to spend at least 20 minutes with them. And again, if you find that 20 minutes is what you're currently doing, then I might even extend that to half an hour, and I would bring forward the time. So you start the bedtime routine at 6:20. So we're still always aiming to be in the cot of the bed for 10 to 7, just as you begin. A couple of other little bits and pieces just to bear in mind that also doesn't help with resistance to sleep is an over or too much exposure to screen time, and specifically the hour before bedtime. So again, we're trying to replace screen time with the bedtime routine, and don't allow the bedtime routine to be looking for your child to relax by watching television because it has a false restoring quality. Obviously their diet has a big impact here, and again we try to avoid high sugar, processed food. Sometimes we try to limit fruit and avoid even high natural sugar sometimes as well. But again, you need to look at that with your health practitioner and look into it for your, to find some answers yourselves. And then of course, lots of quality one-to-one interactions with your child, nothing to do with sleep, so that the fight is not a response to not spending enough meaningful time together, and that you're present and you're available whenever possible throughout the course of the time together, and that you're not distracted like I can be with modern life technology. And again, whatever changes you're making, you need to be patient and predictable and give space and opportunity for your stress-free sleep process to start to emerge. So I wish you luck with that. If you would like me to cover any other topics, just post below, and I look forward to seeing you here again soon.